Hello, changelings, and welcome to the Night Garden. I'm VampireAntihero, and this is Conquer Thy Fear Studio. So, today we're going to talk about something that until recently I didn't fully respect as an artist. I don't know about anyone else, but I know that when I go to sit down and work on an art piece, the thing that I neglect the most is the idea phase. I'm impatient, and I don't fully give myself time to sit with and develop ideas before I hit the ground running with them. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the most important things for a creative person to do to develop a creative idea is to come up with one in a solid way. And ideas don't just hit you fully formed and possess you to make them all of the time. So what do we do in the meantime? How do we come up with ideas consistently and be able to figure out what makes a good idea before spending a ton of time on it only to abandon the piece? The answer is thumbnails. And I know not every artist uses thumbnails or even finds them necessary, but the more in-depth that I get with my compositions and the more I try to level up my art, I find that the pieces that I use thumbnails to develop come out better every single time. Sure, we can start with a full-size sketch or wing it without a plan, but that can only work out some of the time. Sometimes we can sit down and do a sketch that runs away and becomes a full scene, but also, how often does that happen? Thumbnails are a great way to come up with a quick composition and decide if we like it before we put the heavy lifting of drawing it into play. That being said, there is nothing wrong with not using thumbnails. There is no right or wrong way to do art, but this is an option of planning a piece that works very well for me, and I figured I'd take the time to describe why. So, what is a thumbnail? What does it do for us, and why should we use them? A thumbnail is basically an exploration of an idea. It gives us a general idea of what colors we want to use, where our lighting and shadows fall, what the mood of a piece is, what the general composition is, and how to lay out the moving pieces on a canvas. Let's say that I want to draw a vampire regarding the moon from his castle. I have a solid idea in mind, but do I know what way to compose the piece? Do I have a mood in mind? Do I want it to be just a character, or is there someone watching them? How do I want to tell the story? The thumbnail will help with this. So for this exercise, we're going to try this idea with 3 different compositions. First, we'll make a thumbnail with a lonely, lost, despairing feel. Next, we'll make a slightly spookier vibe, something very cold and unsettling. Last, we'll make a feeling of fantastical whimsy, really pushing towards the fantasy fairy tale vibe. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make a few boxes on my canvas, the same aspect ratio as my canvas. Next, we'll do some loose sketches in the boxes. Once you finish this, you can throw a light color map on the sketch and voila, that's the thumbnail. Let me show you what I mean. Once I have the boxes where I want them to be, I resize them to as small as I can while still drawing comfortably within them. This gives me enough space to create the bigger shapes of things I'm trying to put into the space without getting lost in the detail. We know our idea. We're making a vampire staring up the moonlight. So let's try 3 different moods. What can we make this feel like? We've got gloomy, dark, and despairing. We've got spooky, cold, and unsettling. And we've got fantastical whimsy. So let's start with the box on the left. Originally, when I drew this sketch, it was going to be the dark, lonely, and despairing composition. But as I got through going through the composition, I decided to go in a little bit of a different direction and make this the fantastical whimsy one. I didn't like how zoomed in I had made the composition or the setting of this vampire for a lonely feel. In order to convey loneliness, I like to put characters in big expanses with no one around, or to have them seemingly out of an element where they otherwise would belong. The storytelling of this didn't feel right with dark and lonely. This one is more of a kind of whimsical feel, kind of neutral even, and what I'll do with the colors later will decide whether or not it's a whimsical feel. So when I go for the gloomy, I think I will turn around and make something that is a little bit more zoomed out, probably from the back of the character, just to kind of show like a light coming from within, but that they feel like they don't belong. Maybe I'll do something like that. For the spooky vibe, I want to do something that enhances the coldness of the scene, maybe something to show, the unnaturalness of the vampire, or something that will accentuate that darkness of the type of character that we're dealing with. But for the meantime, let's just go through and do our sketches. Next, we're going to be doing some quick color maps, and all I'm trying to do here is to get the idea across of what I'm picturing, a general palette to work with once we get to the actual larger sketch and the render part. Let's start with the gloomy, alone one. One of the most powerful senses of mood can be created with the lighting and the tone in a piece. In this case, I'm going to start with cooler tones and add some warm light, not really touching the figure as much, to give a sense of not really belonging in the environment. For the spooky one, I'll probably stick to mostly cold tones, maybe add some red to the moon and dark silhouettes to increase the feeling of danger. For whimsical, I'll add some glow effects and maybe some stuff interacting with the character in the large version, but in this small thumbnail version, we're going to stick to simple. So here's another quick montage of the thumbnails. So there we have it. Dark, despairing, and gloomy. Spooky, unsettling, and supernatural. And whimsical. Here they are side by side. I hope it makes sense what I did for each one and why I feel it conveys the mood that I tried to convey. Maybe I will make one of these into a full illustration. Maybe I'll do all three. Maybe they'll just sit in a folder until I can figure out something else to do. But I hope this made sense, and I hope that you all have a newfound appreciation for what a thumbnail can do for you before you start working on a full illustration. That's all I've got for you today. I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your week, and until next time, bye everybody. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you for watching. I hope that I was able to motivate and inspire you today. If you like what I do, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And as always, thank you to my wonderful coffee patrons, Lovely Rosie T and Life is Great. I couldn't keep doing this without you guys. I also have a Ko-fi where you can donate, subscribe to a monthly membership, or check out some of my merch for sale. You will also get access to sketches, works in progress, and exclusive desktop and phone wallpapers if you subscribe. If you'd like to see more content, I regularly post on Twitter, and I'm live on Twitch 3 to 4 days a week. I hope that you all have a fantastic day, and until next time the sun goes down, keep yourself safe, drink your water, and do what you can. I love you all.